Hey there. So I just got home from a trip up to see some family, and while I was there, I got a call that there was something going on with the milk machine. And so, just first off, always make sure you've got someone who you trust, who knows how to do some maintenance on this guy. The people at Mitty Dairy Supply have been phenomenal to help me. That's where I got this machine. It's always so helpful. So I was able to get on the phone with them. I wasn't too worried about it, and still not too worried about it. So I'm actually gonna do some live troubleshooting with you because I don't know what the issue is. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it up, and I want you to hear what the noise is. Hopefully it comes through on the camera. Just doesn't sound good. Something weird is going on here. So the initial problem that kind of caused this is some fluid got sucked up into the bucket overfilled, or was kind of slightly off, and the fluid got into went into the black tube and then went into this itself, and we saw a lot of milk, or I didn't see, but my wife saw a lot of milk coming out of the bottom here. You know, it was clear that fluid infiltrated this. And so that's, again, just a quick recap. So this is the lid. Obviously it's on the bucket normally. This ping pong ball is supposed to stop the fluid. So when it's sucking up, this ping pong ball will stop the fluid, so that way the suction stops, because the suction to the black hose ceases inside the bucket and no liquid gets up in there. For whatever reason, that didn't work this time. I'm not entirely positive why, but that's okay. So I did an initial troubleshooting call with Mitty, and one of the things that was recommended to me was to actually run the machine, if that does happen to you, to actually run the machine, so that way the pressure actually helps to force it out, and there's a little nipple at the bottom underneath these tires here where the fluid comes out. So that was that was kind of my initial diagnosis over the phone. Like I said, I just got here and I fired it up, and I'm like, yeah, that definitely does not sound good. And so I'm gonna go ahead and crack open this thing with you guys on it. So this is where the carbon plates are. So let's go ahead and open that up and let's see what's going on. When you're working on this thing, first off, the first time I took this off, I had to be real careful, because I think the machine set the screws. So you want to make sure you pull them off real gently. Make sure you've got the exact same size. You could use an Allen wrench. I have oops, don't want it to strip. I have this for a ratchet set, just the little star screws. I'm sorry, they're not stars, they're like the Allen bits. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what they're called. They're like the Allen wrench, except they go on a socket set. So, not all that uncommon of a tool to take this off. So that's, first off, if you're gonna open it up, make sure you're being careful, especially the first time. And also, when you do get these out, I noticed that you have to kind of tap this plate. Mine's loose, but the first time I got this off, I had to like tap the plate to get it to even come off. And so I'll show you guys what that looks like. Take this off. I do treat this like a tire when I'm putting it back on, meaning I will make sure that I rotate which one I crank down first. So that way it's got a nice even seal all the way around. You don't want it to be like over cranked on one side and then have the other side not set properly. We're almost there. Appreciate you bearing with me. And before I actually stick my hands in this thing, I should unplug it. It's a good reminder to myself. Obviously, it is on. All right, so I've got it unplugged. So my initial thinking is that I can see some carbon buildup on the bottom of this exhaust, and that's suspicious to me. When I open this guy up, I'm looking for any moisture in here. I don't see any moisture. So let's take some of these plates out and let's see what's going on. So I see some carbon scoring. That's pretty expected. And then, aha. All right, so I might have found the issue. Okay, so if you take a look, hopefully you can see this in the camera. So if you take a look at the difference between these two, this one is quite chipped and cracked, and the other one is whole. So that very well may be the entire problem. That and that one was not sliding freely. I think it's okay. These also need to slide freely. When you spin that thing, they need to slide pretty well. So, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start it up like this. So I took the plates out. Never do this, never start it up with, if you got the cover off, never start it with the plates in, but you can run it while, you can run it if the plates, the little carbon plates are out and the face plate is off. So let's see how it sounds like this. Okay, so this is great. I don't hear any sort of weird buzzing. I just hear the motor running. So that's a really good sign. So I think the only issue going on here is the plates. So thankfully, yeah, it's spinning real freely. It doesn't look like there's any sort of resistance or anything on the actual motor itself. So that's great. So I'm gonna go ahead, and what I'm gonna do is I got some, since I figured I'd open that thing up, I figured I'd clean it. So I got some paper towel, I got some Q-tips, and actually with my kit that I got from the Mitty Dairy Supply, they actually provided me these carbon pallets. That's what they are, vacuum pump carbon pallets. So I actually got a full set to replace. I'm not gonna replace the full set because honestly, it's not that old. And I think the one just was damaged with the extra milk that came through, and that's all right. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take a Q-tip and I'm gonna scrape these off. So one of the things I found out yesterday too, I know if you watch like the cleaning videos specifically from Mitty, they actually mention running WD-40 in this. And I found out from another rep that that might not be the best. So I'm actually going to not do that today. I guess that the carbon is actually supposed to help lubricate the machine itself, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool design. So what I'm doing is I'm just running a Q-tip through as deep as I can, just to get as much of the carbon stuff out as I can. There's quite a bit. I'm sure that the moisture in there just kind of caused a little extra buildup than what's normal. So I'm just rubbing. All right. Got the Q-tips, now I'm gonna take some paper towel and I'm gonna go ahead and rub in there. Get some of this going. Just cleaning up all around. And clean the faceplate a bit. And then also, I'm gonna take the ones I'm gonna keep, I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna clean these off too. They actually, if you get enough carbon scoring on them, you can actually sand it off, like it'll fine grit sandpaper and sand it off. I'm not gonna do that because it doesn't need it. You can see it rubbing off right now, so that's good. All right, so now I've got it cleaned up. A little smidge in there. Could also get a compressor and blow this out, I'm sure. I think I need to do that this time. All right, so now the plates. So the plates need to complete the circle. So I guess there's two types of carbon plates. I've got the one that have a slight ridge to them. It's almost like a 45-degree angle. And you're gonna have that complete the circle. So I'm gonna put this up at the top. And what that means is when I'm pushing on the carbon plate, it's completing it. If I had it in the wrong way, you'd see like a little gap between the carbon plate and the top. Mitty's got a pretty good video on just routine maintenance that explains this probably a little better than I am right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the 3 plates in that are still working. And then I'm gonna grab a plate from my new box. I would recommend to always have these on hand. I'm probably gonna order some more after this video. I always try to think of things that I might need. So I've got some extra tools, extra supplies in hand, just because when this goes down, you know, it's two hours a day of milking, right? You don't want that. Okay, so I've got the carbon pallets in, and so I'm gonna go ahead and secure the faceplate. And like I said, this is where I'll do almost like when I'm replacing a tire, how I will make sure to tighten side by, you know, I'll do this side and I'll go that side, this side, and that side, kind of in the star pattern, just to make sure that you've got a nice good seal going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this up, and then we're gonna turn it on, and we're gonna see how it sounds. All right, so faceplate is nice and secure. Let's plug her back in. All right, see what happens. All right, so that's still, it sounds better. And when I squeezed the black tube, it definitely was gaining pressure, but that's not the end of this story. So I think what I'm gonna try to do next is actually take the muffler off. I've heard that you can do that, and just based upon what I'm seeing here, it does look like some stuff came out. So I think that's my next step, is to take this guy off. It's probably gonna be a bit tricky because it seems like it's pretty tight. All right, so I had to break there. Actually called Mitty just to kind of double check on what I was doing here, because I've not done this part before. So we're troubleshooting live together. So I did take, this is called the muffler. I took this off. This was rather tough to get off. I had to use a pair of channel locks. And as much as I tried to not scrape the paint on the bottom, I did. So unfortunately that is what it is. So first thing is that this has gunk in it. So I have been kind of tapping this, trying to get it out. This, you know, I assume this is just the carbon fiber stuff coming out. So I've got most of it out, and some relatively big chunks have come to the ground as well. And then the other thing that they mentioned to do is actually take carb cleaner and spray it into the housing here and just make sure that that's nice and cleaned up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna unplug it first. All right, so I grabbed some more paper towel. I unplugged it. And go ahead, and I have a carbon choke cleaner here. I'm just gonna spray it in there. Stuff always smells real nice. Just kidding. It smells like my grandpa's basement, honestly. So I'm gonna go ahead and just clean up some of that. Of course, I've got some paper towel in there. Maybe paper towel is not the best choice for that particular process. So just a little bit more. Alright. There's definitely no obstructions in there. Let me see if I can get you in there. Give it a shake. So as you can see, there's no obstructions or anything like that. So again, what you're seeing there is actually where the carbon plates were at. So that's looking good. Now let's go ahead and let's put it back together. See what happens. Make sure there's no paper towel anywhere. Let's thread it back to where it was at. Doesn't seem like I need to crank it at all. Alright. See what happens. Well, that sounds way better. Holding pressure just fine. I'm not hearing any sort of clinking or anything. Yep. All right, there we go. So that was it. So I think moral of the story is if you get a lot of fluid in here, get as much of it out of the body as you possibly can. Again, run it. Mitty actually recommended that you run the machine for like a minute or two if that happens. Just get flush the moisture out as best you can through the nipple. It'll release it down at the bottom. Take apart the front, check the carbon scoring, check the plates, and then I had to end up cleaning the muffler too. I think it's probably because this guy broke. This guy broke some sort of extra pressure. And then that got up into the sorry, I'm tired. The muffler, and then the muffler was causing some issues because it had a bunch of gunk and build up inside of it. So I think we're back in business. All right, thanks for troubleshooting with me.